You're listening to the Edible Valley Podcast, episode 213.
On this episode, we're sending out congratulations because we're going to start talking about some wedding planning. Do you ever wonder where your food comes from? That's what got us started on this adventure.
In each episode, we ask experts to weigh in on the food topics that matter to you, from growers to producers to chefs.
And I challenge John, Darren and you to learn more about your food and the stories behind it. From our hub on Vancouver Island in the beautiful Comox Valley, join us as we explore our edible valley. And a very good day to you. This is the Edible Valley Podcast. As Darren said, episode 213. We decided that we're going to keep episode 13 because it's not the most lucky number in the world, but, you know, we're feeling lucky today. We're so glad to be back after having a few weeks away. And why, my gosh, we are firing from all cylinders. It's August. The weather is gorgeous. And we're talking about weddings. But we mentioned congratulations. One of us is getting married, but who is it? Congratulations to Darren!
Not me.
Not Darren.
Me. Not Darren.
Congratulations to John!
Unfortunately,
no.
No.
It's
Congratulations,
Will! I'm getting married.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Everyone knew what was going to happen because we were going on holiday 2 years together, blah-de-blah, romantic,
Right.
England, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, we are getting married. And so...
wait. We need to know. How did you do the proposal?
Oh, gosh.
Come on.
Bring
well,
some
it was
romance to the show.
massively prepared for. But I mean, so we walked through some fields and then just where I live in England or used to live, over a fence, and there's this big field with a big oak tree in the middle of it, and the idea was we're going to walk up towards the oak tree and talk about when did we meet and the first date, and gradually I'd get towards, and we've had such a good time, and then I'd get down on one knee. All right, didn't quite go like that. It wasn't the worst, but I didn't set the tone well enough. So I think we were about to have dinner, or it was about to have lunch, and it's like, no, let's go for a walk. No, I don't want to go for a walk. Well, let's go for a walk. Straight away on the wrong foot. Hey, why don't you wear that dress? No, I want to wear this. Well, wear that dress. Well, no, I want to wear this. You don't think I look good in this? No, you're lovely in that. But no, you don't think I look good. No, you look lovely. Please. Let's just go for a quick walk. You know, I'm massively on the back foot already. Walked into through the fields where my dad was planting some lavender, and he saw me, and I had the ring in my pocket, nervous, and he said, "Oh, good, you're here," and started handing me stuff to move from one end of the field to the other. As I was walking past, I was like, "You are a bastard." I thought he'll understand later on.
Right.
Anyway, moved all of that. Really sweaty now as well because it's a really hot day. Walked through the field, and I started to say, we are, been together a while now, and I knew I really liked you, straight away. And she's like, "You did not," and you took me blah blah this. Anyway, so I did not get her into the romantic mood, and then when we got to the tree, I was like, "This is happening. This is planned. This is happening." Because she's amazing. Eva Evangeline is absolutely amazing, and it's a very real relationship.
Yeah.
Sometimes the romance is there. We are, and sometimes it's not.
Right.
The romance wasn't there at that exact point. And so we got to the tree, and I got down on one knee, and she saw what was going on. We both burst into tears. It was a big yes. It was amazing. Amazing. But then the notepad came out. And that's this show.
I was just going to say, there you go. There's kind of really what we're going to be doing right now is talking about, planning.
Yeah.
Had we been able to do a little more planning, would it have gone smoother? Would it have gone better? Who knows? But let's talk about planning so the rest of it doesn't turn out that way.
Yeah. I have a point to bring up right from the beginning. And I'm going to say this to every bride and groom out there that goes through this, since I have not gotten married, but I have seen and catered enough weddings to know that everything that you plan will probably go wrong.
Yeah.
And just enjoy it.
Yeah. That's the thing is, don't be so stringent and rigid. Allow for some room for some deviation, but as long as you sort of steer that ship in the right direction, you'll get there.
Yeah.
But the stakes are so high.
Right?
This is
so much money on the line.
Yeah. Money, there's no practice. You only do it once if it goes well. And even if you do it a few times in your life, not enough to get good at it.
No.
And all your friends are there. The stakes are just so high in every area. So, we hope with this show we're going to hit some points that just start to get you in that groove of understanding.
Let's take away some of that stress by giving you some proper route to plan.
Yeah. So we've got the experts, John and Darren, in front of me, both of which have worked in this field directly a number of times. I hope to bring a more general thing to the table. And I just did a bit of research the other day, wedding checklist and the kind of things that you need to start thinking about, and you'd be surprised actually. So first of all, just get one contact person. So you might end up having like 10 contacts. Get one contact person. We're talking wedding caterers here. Okay. Now you might choose to get actually someone to manage it, and in which case they would do absolutely everything. Right. But get one contact person. Ask that caterer, are they doing any other weddings that day?
Oh yeah.
You wouldn't have thought. I wouldn't have thought in a million years to ask that. But are they going to be divided in terms of their attention? Are they going to be doing a custom meal, or is it going to be a situation where they've made this meal a million times before? Right. Because you might make something, it just doesn't work in that location, doesn't work in that weather, doesn't work with that demographic of people. Is there going to be menu testing? And are you going to pay for that? And how are you going to pay for that? Is it going to be like £100 or $100? Right. Is it going to be credited against a bill, against a purchase? Right. That's a really relevant thing as well. Do they have a license? Are they going to do the booze? Right. How much is that going to cost?
Absolutely.
Does it include tip? Suddenly it's 20% more expensive than you were expecting. Do they have a team of people, or are you bringing a team? Really important, because if they've got a team of people and they're making food they've made before, happy days. Yeah. They know. They've tested it. Things have gone wrong with other people's weddings, not yours, and it's all good. Yeah. Have they done this location before? Yeah. If you're doing the team, are they trained? Do they know the food? Yeah. Getting towards the end here, but again... beverages, is there corkage if you're bringing your own but they're serving it, right? And you're really just searching out any hidden issues, and just with that little search you'll see how much there is to worry about these things.
Well, this is where I look at it, like, do your planning, do this early. Don't wait till the last minute.
Early would you say?
You just like
you're already
we're doing 2 years
as you walk back.
Okay, so you're already running late.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. No, but really, literally, as soon as you book it, as soon as you know what's going on, as soon as you know the day, as soon as you have that in place,
do it. Get it
Find
booked
your caterer,
as soon as possible. But you got to take into considerations and make a plan of what you want. I always say, let's talk about the logistics. Where are you going to have this? What's your venue? What's the vision of this, of your wedding that you want to have, and how's that going to pair with the food? So you want to look at, like, where are we going to have this out in the forest and have a beautiful ceremony in the forest, and then we'll just set up some logs and eat on the benches, right? It's been done before, but that's going to change your menu. That's going to change. So I would look at where you're going to have it. What's the vision of it? And then come up with what's the budget you want to have for this. And then start booking appointments and start talking to caterers, because, most caterers are, they're booking right now. And if you can get them in first, and then, do the things like, can they guarantee to be, are you their only wedding? And that changes everything, right?
I mean, if you're say 2 years is a timeline, what if the business isn't even around?
Well, that's
I mean, these things could ruin your wedding.
Yes, but I mean, let's set up that you have what you want from a wedding, and then you can approach caterers, find out what it's going to be like. I mean, 2 years in advance, you can approach a caterer, and they're going to be like, well, I can't quote your price because I don't know how much
food's going to cost at that time. And
like, if you go to the grocery store nowadays, you're like, woo.
But you're absolutely right. Like, there is the chance that a business could go out of business in that time, right? Maybe you do want to have a second caterer on retainer, or maybe you have a backup choice, just in case things fall through. Yeah,
absolutely. All right, John.
Well, when I come down to it, if you've got your venue, you've got what you want. And let's come
And
from
I think
my personal point of view of what kind of meal are you going to have.
Yeah. And when John's talking about venue, it might not seem like it's important, but it is. As you brought up earlier, is that venue capable of producing that food? You know, you might want this food and you might want this venue, but those things are mutually exclusive. They don't work together. Yeah. So that's why bringing the venue and deciding on the venue ahead of time maybe is the best. Maybe it's not. Maybe you want to decide on the food and see a place that can accommodate that.
Well, an example of that is, for example, what if the kitchen is in one area, then there's loads of relatively chilly corridors, and then the main eating area, which is huge, and you're making fish. That fish has gone cold.
Yeah, it's going to go cold. Yeah. Or some people, you know, they want to do like a barbecue or a spit or something like that for a certain type of wedding. Of course, that you're really limiting your options of where you can do that. Yeah, but
excellent. Well, how about we go into a couple different styles of meals, and we can do some pros and cons of them. The classic, which is probably the most traditional, but the plated sit-down dinner.
Right. Okay.
Which is basically probably a 2 or 3 course dinner. You know, maybe there's a soup or salad, entree, choices of entrees, or it all can be the same depending on what kind of menu, and then a dessert maybe. And that's if you want it plated, unless you're going to have the wedding cake, and then you can have the wedding cake. Everyone can get up to do that. But some of the pros is that you know, you can be at the point that all the guests get served the same meal. You can have the opportunity for, if there's a vegetarian, to change it up for there. You can have the ability to have your guests pre-pick what they're going to have. Like you've seen the old time where they're like, are you having chicken or fish at the wedding?
Yeah. Same as an aeroplane, incidentally.
Yeah, exactly. Same choice. So that's something you can put on your RSVPs. So you know exactly who's going to be there. And then you have a control of what the meal looks like too, right? So you can have a very nice plated. So that's something you can even be like to your chef that's producing it. Be like, how's the meal going to look?
Nail down that presentation, make it actually fit in with the wedding theme.
And then the caterer can customize that meal directly to what you're having.
But the cons.
It can be challenging for dietary needs because everyone's getting the same thing. So if you have someone who's like, I can't do dairy, I can't do this, typically it takes more manpower for serving. You're going to need people to actually run the food. As you said, that corridor. Yeah.
So it's expensive and potential for mistakes.
And also, as John was saying, you know, all those options up front, you know, where he was saying, well, it's 2 or 3 courses, the wedding cake, et cetera, all that comes with expense, like literally every single step, because every part of it's more labor, more expertise, more everything. So, it's not just as carte blanche as say 2 or 3 courses, but 2, the 3, the wedding cake, all of that. You're paying for every single part of that.
Yeah. Plus, you're going to be renting equipment, right? Because everyone needs 2 knives and forks and 2 sets of plates and all the other things.
Exactly.
Next style, which is very close to the same, but we go into a family style dinner, which is fun. It's, basically we're bringing out full dishes to the table. So there'd be a table of how many people, and, you know, they bring out a chicken and they bring out some vegetables. And then you have the dietary, you know, you can control that because you can have a dish on there that doesn't have something. So everyone has a variety of choices, right? And then they can eat what they want, right? It's great for community building, right? Like you get to communicate with people, you get to connect with them, you get to engage in the table. I've had a couple family style dinners that I've been to where I've been sat at a table with people I don't know, and it actually brings up conversation, and it becomes
you're forced to interact because you're literally sharing the same dishes. There's almost something rustic about it.
You also, there's the wait isn't as long. You don't need as many servers because boom, your table all gets fed at the same thing. Like to some of the other ways, you know, standing in line up waiting for your food, right? That's thing. One of the with a family style, it's typically more expensive because there's more options, more ratios, so there's more food going out there. And then, you know, the platters and dishes can take up a lot of room, and so if you have a lot of stuff on your table already. And this is one thing you'll find out, like people put little balloons and all those fun
Polaroid
things,
camera.
and there's bubbles and all that stuff, and you put all that stuff on the table, and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, I'm gonna take this big platter down.
Yeah.
So you can expect to pay probably 10 to 30% more.
I mean, little things like the space it's going to take up, and therefore you have to put less on the table. But then when people sit down, they're going to be seeing all these gaps, and it might seem to be incomplete. So how do you make it look good when all these little things, and also the fact they have to make it a little bit more because you can't have not enough.
That's right.
So you have to have ever so slightly more. Then your food
kind of
goes
goes,
up.
I think, to your next one. There's even more food in the next option.
Let's do buffet style.
Yeah.
Everyone's done the buffet.
Yeah.
With the roast beef at the end
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a great way to do large volumes of people.
Yeah.
Right. Put the effort on them to come through. You don't. I was going to say, like, plated one, you need a big kitchen. Buffet style, you can reduce the kitchen because you can pre-make off-site and bring them in.
Right.
So that's the thing with plated one, is it has to be done on-site. So you need bigger kitchen facilities. Whereas a buffet style, boom.
Yeah.
That's also
you also get to reduce the amount of kitchen staff or service staff, because the service staff then is just more a clearing.
Right.
Yeah. And the best thing is because everyone can pick whatever they want.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I think expense-wise, it's a little more expensive going buffet style, but in food. But then you're reducing that expense in labor, so kind of in line.
Is it more expensive because you have to have enough food? You're having that more.
You have to have a little. You can't just run out of a certain dish.
Yeah.
And so
there's extra of everything prepped.
I always laugh at because the buffet style boils down to when you do the potluck style dinner too, right? Like the long line and you go through, and so it's a little bit different because if you're as a caterer, you have to be able to make sure that everyone's going to have potatoes. And so one person's going to take 2 pieces of potatoes, but then there's that guy who's going to take 6 or 7 potatoes. So you got to have a bit of extra food, so you can expect there to be a little bit more leftovers and such.
Nice.
So that's the one there. The other one, next one, I would say that goes a little bit different is the self-service station,
right?
Which
sounds similar to buffet.
Very similar to buffet, but you have stations set up around your dining room, and then you can go to that station to get a bit of food. So you can have a station over here that's doing roast beef. You can have an oyster station over here. You can have a little sushi going over here. Like whatever you want to do. Your roasted vegetables can be over there. So it just gives people the opportunity to move between stations and get a little bit of everything.
Nice.
Which goes to the next way that is one step from that. Is let's go on to cocktails.
So do the catering company do the drink, or do you arrange it with someone else? Are there separate catering drink companies?
I'm just saying with cocktails is even canopies and coming around with trays of food is a huge one.
Oh, that's what you meant.
That's
sorry.
what
I'm very, very sorry.
No, but some
I was
people
getting all excited then.
Some people sort of don't do a meal, and they're just a bit of almost like grazing foods. And it's not a meal oriented thing.
Right.
So it's people coming around with trays of food.
Right. Okay.
Which are
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. So the old
hors
d'oeuvres, prawn cocktail.
Yeah.
Little things like that. So just a little bite for each person.
Little cheese on a cracker.
Yeah.
Called something fancy.
Yeah.
It's cool. I find it's a lot more work for a caterer because it's a lot of work to combine all these, and especially if it makes it look really nice. You're combining all these things and putting them on trays and creating.
Yeah.
So you have lots of different flavors, and they're usually like 1 or 2 bite items, right? Like it's not like a sandwich tray going around. It's a couple little things. Some of the cons on this one is definitely that you see that one tray of something that nobody wants to eat, and it just keeps circling around there, or you don't see a change of the food. So it's one of those ones that with a good cocktail is that you want to have that, they're running around with a prawn cocktail for the first 15-20 minutes, and then they're switching up to like a chicken skewer next, and then nice vegetable pate or something like that. Like we can do different flavors, or have two separate dishes going out at a time, and then a completely different set of dishes going out. Just makes it more interesting, and then people don't get bored and be like, oh, okay.
It becomes less and less appealing if you see it, the same food on the plate.
And that's where I look at is for what you need to think about for food.
But getting onto what you were talking about there, you were bringing up a thing about the cocktails. Yeah, you do need to know. I mean, the venue is going to have certain limitations and certain. I mean, quite often venues can't. And I'm serious about this. There's lots of that cannot serve liquor under any circumstances. So you want to make sure to square that away when you're selecting your venue. Yeah. And then but the ones that do, well, who's on it? Is it, or who's the onus on? Is it up to the bride and groom to provide the alcohol and hire a bartender, or is it does the venue demand that they put their own person in place and take the liquor sales? Do they, there's a variety of options there, and it's important to figure that out right ahead of the time.
Let's talk about liquor licenses.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I was going to ask if it's like a private venue, like my house.
Sure.
Can we have loads of people there and do drinks?
Yeah, I mean, once you'd have to apply for a license for that, though.
Do you have to apply for a license?
Yeah, if you're going to be serving liquor to general whatever, it doesn't matter how many friends and family are there. Yeah, if you're going to be putting out more, I don't know what the break is, 12 people. Anything over that, you're supposed to have a license.
Really?
Yeah, part of it isn't about giving the government their due. It's letting people know, letting the authorities know, letting what have you, that this venue is or this event is happening, and appropriately checking in on it or what have you. But
so they're not shocked.
Yeah.
Why is there
There's 300 cars parked in this cul-de-sac. What's going on?
Yeah.
And it's not hard to get a liquor license.
No, and nor is it expensive.
Really?
It's not. And the licensing branch, the liquor licensing branch, it's very different than it was 25, 30 years ago, where it was almost like, you're lucky if we give you this. And it's quite the contrary now. It's like, we're happy to give you this. We just need to know what's happening, what's going on. Right. And you get a discount when you go to buy the liquor for that.
Really?
It depends on yeah.
But that's okay. That's really good.
Yeah.
That's actually a very progressive kind of way of doing it. And then the authorities know what's going on, which is safer because if anything happens, they're not trying to scramble around trying to work out what is happening.
And you can even hire organizations that have liquor license that will come in and do the serving for you, and they use it as a fundraiser event for their own organization. So that's even easier for you, because then you don't even have to hold on to all this extra alcohol.
Yeah.
I guess that's the other thing too, is if you do have a license, you can return what you don't consume.
What wasn't opened. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So just briefly to kind of stir up a little bit of controversy.
Sure.
One new trend that I read about recently is people getting invited to weddings, but then receiving a bill, asking to basically purchase tickets to that contributes to the bill.
Wow, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously going to happen at some point with the expenses, but the guests
are you
chipping in. So I'm thinking £100 each.
I thought I was getting a plane ticket.
It's gonna be so much the opposite. Now I keep on saying the prices in pounds, which is odd because we're in Canada. We're doing this in England, so my brain is programmed back. Into
I
pounds.
can't speak to the licensing then that is in England, but that's how it's done here.
Yeah.
I'm excited that you're not asking us to cater it, so that makes our
no, it's gonna be a long way away, but we're looking forward to it. Probably gonna be some sort of event here as well, but neither of us have that many friends here, so it's fine.
Well, when you are
you got
booking,
me, Will.
when you are booking that caterer, a couple other things to keep in mind. When you first off make sure that they've done weddings before, or at least ask so that you know what you're getting into.
Right.
Quite often people just assume that a caterer obviously does weddings because they make that correlation that's, but it's not. And somebody might not have, there's certain caterers out there that might not have the ability to pull that all together, but they're like, looking at the idea of the payday and maybe you want to go out on that limb and try it, but don't let that trial be at your expense. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then maybe just get some visual reference or some sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Somebody able to vouch, whether it's visual, like maybe they have pictures, maybe there's somebody's wedding photos, maybe a happy past guest or past client. But yeah, make sure that person's actually done the work before you go booking them and handing over such an important day to them.
I think also too is looking at, you can spread out what you're doing too amongst, like if you're getting your wedding cake, that doesn't have to come from your caterer, that can come from the bakery you want. And caterers are really willing to work with the people, and if you should have a caterer who wants to work with you.
Yeah, that should be a good sign right there. If they're really not willing to work with you, maybe they're just stressed out because they've got a lot booked around that, but that still should indicate to you, if they're not willing to work with you, then it's not going to go well. If they're trying to give you a lot of demands, like, no, can't do that. No, it has to be like this.
You want to be hearing yes.
Yeah, that's a good indication that maybe this isn't going to be a good pair up.
Right. On the thing too, you don't want to hear all the yeses, yes.
Yeah,
yes,
if you hear blind yeses, that's
another red flag.
Yeah, so you want realistic.
Yeah, conversation. You want conversation so you can actually come to an agreement and an understanding.
Go through your lists and say, these are the things I want. These are the amount of people that are going to be there. And then, get their feedback on what they need to be able to accomplish that. And if they're just like, oh yeah, that's no problem, be like, well, it sounds like a problem to me. And if they can't explain it out, then that's a good sign. So I know a lot of people like, and weddings I've done where they've had certain dishes that they've wanted to include in there, like on a buffet or something like that. Or they've gone out and they've caught a bunch of salmon. Yeah. And they're like, hey, can you cook off one of these salmon and add it to the thing? And you're like, yeah, we can do that. Yeah. There's going to be a charge for my labor to do it, but that's completely acceptable.
Absolutely.
Or if grandma makes an amazing dessert and everyone wants to have that and grandma wants to make that, then bring it in. Let's do that.
Let her go, gamey.
There's lots of ways to work, and you have to work well with your caterer. And have that one contact person, because that makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. Because you don't know their operation. That catering might have like 5 people working.
I'm gonna throw my brother's wedding under the bus a little bit.
Sure.
We had great caterers, but what happened was somehow I got, because I knew the caterer personally. Not that I had told them about this caterer, but just how I knew them, I became their contact person through the wedding party.
Oh, yeah.
And so it became very difficult for me because I all of a sudden had to go over to the bride and be like, so caterer wants to do this. And she'd be like, why don't they just come to me? I'm like, because they know me.
Right.
And I kind of know what's going on here. So then I would be going over to the catering and be like, well, this is what they want to do. And can we do this? And so some of those things weren't always discussed, ahead of time. So I was able to buffer a lot of those things, which was really great. And they had a fabulous wedding, and the food was amazing, and it was just a great time. But I can't even remember what the food was now there. But they've been married a lot of years now.
But yeah, I mean, if you can take all these things into consideration and get ahead of it, do it well in advance. This should take a little bit of stress and anxiety off that day. So all you have to worry about is all the other stress and anxiety of that day that aren't related to food.
Exactly. And one thing you can do that would encompass everything we've said today is get a wedding manager, because they're not only just gonna make everything work and have someone there that's not going to be you saying, right, we're late, we need to be doing this, we need to be doing that. But it's going to be someone who does that for a living, so they know the contacts. Yeah. They know the people to go to. They know the venues. They've done it all before.
That's right.
They know the people that have messed up on weddings and not to go with. It does cost a bit of money, but it does seem like something that we might very well go for, just because it is just so important.
And if it goes wrong, which something will, you got someone to blame.
Yeah. All right. That was comprehensive.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah. I hope everyone's learned something a little bit about weddings and some things to think about when they're getting in there. So, like, do you want a buffet? Do you want it plated? Do you want stations? Do you want cocktails? Yeah. Do you want, like, how many people you're going to have? There's so many little questions.
Regardless what you want, get on it now.
Yeah. Early.
Yeah.
And get a prenup. No, that's
check out the cancellation policy. All righty, thank you. Thanks very much. So, weddings. A lot to work out, but we do hope you've got a lot out of this episode. This has been episode 213. Oh, we're banging through them now. My name is William. I am the producer.
I am Chef Jonathan Frazier. And what is Darren today?
What? I'm Darren Howlett.
You said something about it always being the bride or something.
Oh yeah. No, I was gonna say I'm Darren Howlett. Once bridesmaid, never the bride, or always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Whatever.
You were so happy when you came out with that the other day.
Oh no, it just hit me like his little stroke there. I was like, yeah.
None of us getting any younger.
That's true.
Anyway, whatever you're doing out there, I hope it's a good one. Cheers.
And that wraps up another episode of the Edible Valley podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and a special thanks goes to the local businesses that help support our podcast. They make it possible for us to showcase your local food community. We'd love you to follow us on your preferred social media at Edible Valley, where you can check out our blog, find recipes and tips, behind the scenes, and of course keep a lookout for where we are going to turn up next in your Edible Valley.
Okay. You're listening to the Edible Valley podcast, episode 213.
On this episode, we're sending out a little bit of congratulations because we're going to talk about wedding planning.
Let's do that bit.
Yeah, let's do that again. Oh yeah, you're listening
And this
to the
has
Edible
been
Valley.
an Edible Valley production.
Yeah. Beep, 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 beep. Okay, ready again?